There we go. So welcome in, everyone. For those of you who couldn't join us live, we're getting ready for Pumpkins and Peers. We've got some of our peer support volunteers here today. Some of them that I invited to join me for the conversation is Audrey Segura and Michaela Mack. So yeah, if both of you would like to go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us, how you're involved with ANID.
Thanks for having us on here. My name is Audrey. My pronouns are she, her, and I live in Los Angeles. I have been a support group leader for the past 2.5 years, or maybe 3. I don't know. I've lost track of time, but for some time with ANID, and I absolutely love it. I love being around people in a community who I can feel like I relate with, but also just like being able to give back, being of service is like a pillar in my life, the main pillar in my life. And so when I focused and tried to decide what organization I was going to spend most of my time with, I chose this one. And currently I am a mentor. So I've put a pause on being a support group leader so that I could do one-on-one mentorship this year, which has been amazing so far.
Well, it's so good to have you join us, and I can't wait to dive a little bit more into the peer mentorship, because that's something right now. I'm a support group lead, so I've always been interested in the peer mentorship. So I'll have to talk to you about that. Mac, would you like to go ahead and tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yes. Hello, all. My name is Michaela. I go by Mac and I use she, her pronouns. I am in Boise, Idaho. Super fun. And I am a support group lead. So I've been doing it since this year. So I kind of gave myself, I don't believe in New Year's resolutions or anything like that, but I did give myself kind of one of giving back to the community now that I'm in a space to do so, which I think is pretty awesome. So I do that. And then outside of here, I work as a peer mentor. So I actually get to enjoy all of this work 24 hours a day, I guess you can say. It's kind of my bread and butter. Absolutely love this. And I thank you, Jason, for allowing me to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for joining us. So as we're getting underway with the pumpkin painting, as you can see, I'm already off to a rough start here. Everybody, if you've got a pumpkin on your end, feel free to paint away. But I'll introduce myself too really quick. I am Jason Wood. I am the marketing and communications manager at ANID. I also lead our men's support group, which I just wrapped up to join this conversation. So I'm coming fresh out of a group, feeling all energized afterwards. It was one of those things that as I was going through my recovery from an eating disorder, I wanted to be that person that I needed. And I feel like ANID gives me that opportunity to do just that, to help people that are going through similar experiences to what I've been going through. So I'm curious to open it up to Mac or Audrey, or really anybody that's joined us tonight, on what peer mentorship really means to you. There are so many different aspects and elements, I think, of the recovery journey. But one of the things that I found is just the tremendous power that comes in that shared lived experience and in peer support. So I'd love to hear what everybody's got to say on that.
All right, I'll jump in. I think a key word here is community. I think peer mentorship to me just means being part of a community that I can relate to so much, and an opportunity to not only give back, but I've heard it in so many shares and I can relate to it. Like, it's good for my own recovery to be close to this community. And yeah, I think it really, to me, peer support means showing up and holding space for someone else or others. And just really, I think with support groups, it was more just being there to go over general guidelines and to make sure the environment felt safe and supportive to everyone there, and just really guiding the conversation, and always bringing it back to how does this particular event or experience in your life relate to the eating disorder? How does that look? How does it show up? How does it maybe challenge it? And if someone's open to it, what are the solutions other people in the room have used? And as far as mentorship, a similar thing, just showing up asking a mentee, what are the highs and lows of their week? How does that relate to the eating disorder? And just really asking them, same thing with support group, like, what do you need in this moment? Is it to hold space? Is it to like collaborate on some skills that, or some, not skills, but like something that could help or whatever they're looking for. So yeah, I think more than anything, it just really means community to me and holding space.
I love that. Community is one of my favorite words. I was just speaking with a group of students at the University of Rhode Island earlier this week, and they have an eating disorder awareness group on campus, which first of all, I just love the fact that so many college campuses have that nowadays. But they said that their saying is community through vulnerability. And I was like, I absolutely love that. I was like, that's a lot of what we do here at ANID too, when it comes to being vulnerable. As somebody that's providing peer support, we oftentimes have to be the ones to lead by example and to be that first introduction into vulnerability. And like you said, Audrey, being able to help other people has helped me so much too. I completely underestimated how much being able to give back to the community would actually give me in return.
I absolutely love peer mentorship. I mean, it's what I do. It's my job. It's my career. But we have this term where I work where we call each other, we're peer mentor magic. So we actually made stickers for ourselves. We're probably gonna have matching t-shirts by the end of the year. It's gonna be a whole thing. But peer mentorship is like, it's magic, right? It's that secret sauce. It's something that's way different than having a dietitian, than having a therapist, than having a medical provider. It's a different space. It's a space of safety, a space of confidentiality. It's something that's irreparable, and it's something that actually gives back to you, right? It gives back to our own recoveries. And I think you and the patient grow together, which is really such a unique, I can't describe it more than it's magic,
I
you
love
know?
that. It's magic. I really like that. It's yeah, because it's hard to explain it sometimes. It's one of those things where just something happens. It's like somewhere along the way when it comes to whether you're working with a group of folks or you're talking to somebody on the phone or you're in that peer mentorship one-on-one, somewhere along the way, like that magic happens and it just starts to click for everybody. And it's pretty cool when that happens. And I apologize for any loud noises coming from my dogs, because just like Audrey's, mine are being very noisy tonight. So I think they're getting ready for Halloween. But yeah, another question that I had is when was your moment? Like when was that moment that you decided, I want to do this? I want to be a peer mentor, or I want to volunteer and help other people. I always love hearing like, what was that moment?
Man, I have been volunteering since I was really young. It's always been something I've just felt like if I could do this 24/7, I would. Like I just love it so much. I really like connecting with other people, but I think in specifically to Anid, when I was in treatment and I started to get to a place where I felt my own cup was full, and I could give back, and I had the energy and the capacity to give back. I knew immediately that I wanted to somehow get involved with my treatment center. So it started there, and I became a volunteer, and then eventually I was like support staff for some time. And then when I moved back to Los Angeles, which was quite away from where I went to treatment, I remember just researching a bunch of different organizations in this space, something that was like online and just easier instead of having to like go to some place. I was like, what can I do consistently? And Anid, I love that Anid had all this like free online support stuff, whether it was for someone experiencing it, a family member, a friend, like there were just so many resources. And, I didn't know about it before I went to treatment. And I think that knowing that ANIT existed and all of the amazing resources like support groups and mentorship existed when I was looking for some help, or like I needed that extra support in the beginning of my recovery, it could have really been useful for me. I just wasn't aware of it. So I think now also just being in this space, like it was like a no-brainer to pick ANIT as my organization to focus on, to like be a part of and give back. And I think the main reason I picked this space over all the other things I also care about is because I really felt helpless when I went to treatment. I felt like there's no way I can do this. And when I started to get to a place where, I wasn't acting in my eating disorder and the thoughts had like minimized and I felt like I was in a healthy place just all around, I thought, wow, like if I can do this and I felt completely helpless, then, I would love the opportunity to share the things that helped me and worked for me with others. Because when I tell you, I felt like there was no possible way I could ever have recovery in ED. I don't know how to express that more, but like, that's how I felt. And so I knew that I wanted to be able to connect with a community of people who felt maybe possibly the same way I did and be like, I am living proof that like it is possible and everyone's journey is different. But if you feel helpless right now, it's okay. Because once I did too. And there was someone else who was in my place telling me, like, I once felt like you, this is what I did. Try it out. If it works for you, great. If not, change it up a bit until it does work for you. So that's why I'm here.
Well, we're glad you're here. I can speak on behalf of everybody that we're so glad that you're a part of the organization and a part of the community. That's the word I always try to use now when I talk about the organization, is community, because that's what we are. That's what ANIT is. And yeah, there was a big, I guess, turning point in my recovery journey when I started to engage with my peers, when I started to read of other individuals' experiences with eating disorders, because that gave me hope. Early on, I didn't think recovery was possible for me. I didn't think I was strong enough for it. At that point, I was still questioning whether I was even sick enough for it. So I needed somebody to show me that. And I felt like it was my peers that finally got through to me, and I could read other people's stories and talk to other people who were going through it and realize there is hope. Like I can get through this and I can do it. And for me, my moment, the moment when I was like, I've got to do this, is I was watching Robin Roberts from Good Morning America, and she was talking about her mantra of making her mess her message. And when I heard those words, I was like, that's what I've got to do. I've got to make my mess my message and use this experience that I went through to help other people who are going through similar experiences now. And since that moment, there's been no turning back. So if anything, it's full steam ahead. And like I said, the unexpected benefit of it all is the amount of healing that I've encountered along the way. That here I was thinking I was going to help other people, and other people have helped me out just as much.
Hi, you guys. It's Lorena. I know you guys can't see me. I don't know what's wrong with my camera, but I just wanted to still hop on. And I'm so happy to hear all of your guys' stories, because it just gets me really emotional still that recovery is possible. And I've been in recovery for 10 plus years, but I've been into rehab. And just to hear your stories, and Audrey, you put it so right that there's help out there. Our recovery looks different. And everything that you said, Jason, it was just, you get to that point where I had always promised myself, when I get to that point of recovery, I want to help others. And even though it's been 10 plus years, I had to get my other life intact too, because my ED was just so all consuming. My everyday breath in and out of it, that's all I obsessed about, was what the ED is. And a point in my life where I told my husband, I'm going back to school to get my master's, and I'm gonna be a therapist, and my main focal point is helping eating disorder patients and survivors, and that recovery is possible. And it just makes me so excited that there's other people out there like me that feel this way about recovery and helping the community, because it's so prevalent out there, and it's such an all-consuming disorder. And I think just that moment, and I just want to work with ED patients. That's all I want to do. And so I'm going to start school this year and this upcoming year, and I just can't wait to dedicate my career to helping um, people like myself that needed the help, because every single one of my therapists except for two all had eating, and I felt more vulnerable when I spoke with them. And you opened up more because it wasn't just the textbook they were giving you in therapy. It was their own life and their own recovery. And I looked at these women and I thought, oh my gosh, if you can do it, I can do it too. So it's just so awesome to hear all your guys' stories. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us. That was awesome. Like, I'm feeling inspired right now, because that's so cool to see how you've decided now to turn it into a career and to move forward doing that, and to help other people. That's really cool. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, does anybody else on the call want to share when it was their it moment, when they realized that I want to give back, that I want to help other people along the way?
I remember I was actually like when I was at a loss and in recovery, and I did benefit a lot, like in treatment by communicating with others. And I remember just looking on Google for peer support groups to join, and I found ANAD that way. And I joined, and I just really fell in love with the community. And I loved how everyone was so open, and I was like, I want to get more involved. And once I recovered a little bit more, I'm really happy that I was able to actually become a peer support group leader. And it's just amazing to see how things have changed for me. And like you said, Jason, I'm still healing in every group, listening to everyone's stories. I still get emotional about everything that has happened. And it's just looking back at the girl that was in the group, thinking like, oh my gosh, imagine I could actually do this one day, and now I'm here. It's a great feeling.
That's so cool to hear. That's really cool to hear. To hear that you saw that and you wanted to be that, and now look at what you're doing. I completely lost my train of thought because I was getting so moved by all the emotions that's going on. But one of the questions, yeah, I remember now, Rachel, you brought it up, is that there's so many emotions that we go through, like during leading a support group or answering a helpline call, or talking with a peer mentor. Like, what do you all do to take care of your mental health and to prioritize yourself? Because of course, at the end of the day, we can't help other people unless we take care of ourselves first. So I'm curious to hear, maybe what are some tips, or what are some things that you've done to handle that rush of emotions that we sometimes feel when we are helping out?
If you don't mind me saying, but for me personally, I'm 43 years old, and I was diagnosed with my eating disorder at the age of 13. My mother never did anything for me. She always just said, "You just need to eat," and thought shoving a sandwich in front of my face was going to do the trick. So I didn't receive help until I was about 28 years old, and I was in rehab for 1 year straight. And it was, I promise I never want to go back to that time, because if many of you know, if you've worked or you've suffered from an ED yourself, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of emotions. But for my self-care, I still get tune-ups. I like to call them tune-ups. I still see a dietitian, and I still see my social worker, that I just check in and just see how I'm doing. And I know there's other ways of self-care, but when those emotions come up, I always like to go out and to groups. I like to go to the recovery groups that people have been in recovery for many years. And that just helps me um, be accountable for what I do, because I'm not active, definitely not active for 10 years in my eating disorder. But, those body image thoughts still come up, and, just different things. So I always feel I'm always going to be in recovery, even though I've done really well. But those are my little self care that I do for me.
Yeah, got to get those tune-ups. I love it. Like, got to get the oil change, got to get the tires rotated, got to check in with your own support team throughout all of this. So that's a really good tip. Definitely something that I think we can all keep in mind as we go through this. Because and I think that's what makes you so will make you so successful as you go back to school and stuff, is you've got that lived experience. You can relate, and you're willing to talk about that and say, hey, every now and then I still wake up and I've got that body image thought in my mind. I think it's important that people hear that. I know when I share my story on my social media feeds, I make sure to share the good days and the tough days, because I want people to get the realistic expectation of everything. I don't want to just be like all sunshine and rainbows all the time, because the truth is recovery is not always sunshine and rainbows. So I think it's really important that you continue to be authentic, both for yourself and for other people.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Yeah, does anybody else have any tips you'd like to share, or anything that helps you when it comes to being a peer volunteer?
I'll jump in here. You might hear some drilling in the background. I think there's some housework going on in my house right now somewhere, but apologies in advance. So I remember when I first was considering being a support group leader for ANID, I questioned like so many things. I was like, oh, like I wonder if doing this will be triggering for me, because I've been in recovery for a long time, and I'm going to stick to the no numbers here too, like we do in groups, but I've been in recovery for a long time, and it had been a very long time since I had been immersed in a community of people who also experienced an eating disorder. And, the people in my life, accountability is a big thing for me. It's one of my self-care things. Like, all the close people in my life know my struggle isn't the word. My gift in this life of things that teach me lessons, which happened to be the eating disorder experience, taught me a lot of things about myself once I was in recovery. But so basically, I remember being like, I wonder if this will be triggering for me. I wonder if it'll bring up stuff. And so before doing it, before reaching out to ANID, I actually scheduled a therapy session, and I had a couple just to be like, hey, what do you think about me doing this? And just had them, really drill down on me, like several things, and bring up certain things. And they were like, no, like you've got this. And so just having that, I don't know why I felt like I needed that clearance, but like just having that from a support like person on my team made me feel more confident. And then what I realized about support groups is I felt all that fear for no reason. And the reason I say that is because there's no difference in the emotions that come up in support groups and that come up with the people in my life on an everyday basis. The only difference is how they react to them. Maybe they don't react to them with food. Maybe it's something else, or maybe it looks different. But like, I think just in general, like we're surrounded by life in the world. And like you said, not everything is sunshine and rainbows. And some days it's cloudy and it's raining, and rainy days are nice though. So let me not like position those as a bad thing, but like sometimes it just feels like a dark cloud of doom around me, you know, and that's okay. That's some life. So I think self-care, just in general, group or not, is accountability, community. We've all said it here, the groups. Honestly, sometimes I feel selfish being part of like this organization and volunteering, because I feel like I get so much out of it, which I wasn't even expecting or like thinking about. And but yeah, I think self-care is so much, but specifically for groups and mentorship, before I jump into a group, not always, because I'm rushing around sometimes, but I'll try to set up some time before my group starts to really like ground myself, to like be able to hold that space for someone, and not have it be a quick transition from like a life or work task to group. And then usually after groups, I make sure I don't have anything, at least for like an hour, so that I can really like, again, ground, like go outside, like write about like how I feel or whatever it is, because stuff comes up for me in group as well. And so it's really great. Yeah. I think we could talk about self-care tips endlessly, but I'm going to mute myself now.
We could, yeah. Thank you for sharing all of that. The grounding is really big for me too. I write. I do a lot of journaling, and I always try to do that right after, whether it's right after I have a therapy session with my therapist, or whether it's right after a support group. Sometimes it's right before a support group, because I want to make sure that I'm in the right headspace that I need to be in to be able to give the space to other people that night. So yeah, I think writing and journaling is one of the keys for me. So as we approach the bottom of the hour here, I would love to see where everybody's at with their pumpkins. I tried very miserably to do the Anid flame, as you can see there. In my mind, it was going really well, but yeah, the brush strokes didn't necessarily pay off too well. So I don't think that will be going in our brand guide anytime soon. But I would love to see what everybody else has created over the last half an hour. So hold your pumpkins up, or your fake pumpkins. I know we've got some fake ones out there too. Oh, that's looking good. I'm liking it. Oh, you went with the dots.
Mac, is that a Barbie pumpkin?
It actually is. It's kind of inspired by a conversation I had about body image today, and I don't know what made me go pink, but it made me go pink. So there we go.
I love it. I love it. Ruthie, could you hold yours up one more time? I couldn't read the whole thing. I saw, let's see, what are we looking at here? Let it go. Oh, I love it. I love it. Great one. All right, everyone. Well, this has been a phenomenal conversation. I thank you all for the work that you do. We say it time and time again, but volunteers are the heart and soul of ANID, and we wouldn't be the organization we are without you. So as we get ready to close it out tonight, I would love for you just to share one thing with the audience, whether that is just, for somebody who might be listening, who's questioning whether they should attend a group, or whether somebody's listening and they're thinking about maybe volunteering and helping out. Just if you have one bit of advice that you'd like to share with the audience before we go, I'd love to hear it.
I love when this question gets asked. So I mean, one, there's nothing to lose, because when you join a support group, you literally don't have to turn your camera on, but we love it when you do. You don't have to verbally participate, but even if you show up, that's participating in itself. Even if you have the idea of showing up, that deserves like a pat on the back, because this stuff isn't easy. And if you're watching this and you've never been to a group, this basically is your first group. Like, you listen to us all sit here, but yeah. And then I love that there's nothing expected, like, other than like, I guess that's not accurate. There's guidelines, but like, it's for safety, we have guidelines that really set up everyone in group to feel safe and comfortable. And it's a very community like space. Like, as someone who was a support group leader, we're not there to be like, oh, this is what you need to do. It's complete opposite of that. We show up as a member of the group as well. We don't take over group. We kind of lean on people in the community to answer and share experiences and share like things that have helped them with a set experience. So like if you're thinking about joining group, again, there's nothing that is required of you other than just like being respectful and showing up. And if you decide to turn your camera on or participate verbally or through the chat, like it's totally up to you. But yeah, so go for it. Just do it. Just do it.
Awesome. Awesome. Great advice. Thank you so much for joining us, Audrey. It's been great chatting with you again. Mac, did you have anything that you'd like to share before we close it out?
Yeah, I think my biggest advice or biggest piece is like everyone's journey is different, and like my road to recovery didn't have professional support and maybe you didn't either, and like I just want to say like that is a-okay and you can help others and you can be part of these groups. We welcome all identities. It doesn't matter what you look like, who you are. But yeah, that's the biggest piece to me, is that like I think we tend to go into these ideal journeys and these stories of recovery and what it looks like to be recovered, to get to recovery, and like know that these spaces are all for you and we want to hear your voice and we want to hear your story.
Awesome. I couldn't say it better myself. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Again, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. This was a lot of fun. I had a great time painting pumpkins and talking about peer support. And I look forward to the next time that we can all get together and have some more fun and keep the conversation going. So take care, everyone, and we'll talk again soon. Bye.